answering your tough financial questions for the past 26 years. It's Allworth's Money Matters with co-hosts Scott Hanson and Pat McClain. This week's show was pre-recorded at an earlier date. Would you like an opinion on a financial matter you're dealing with? Whether it's about retirement, investments, taxes, or 401ks, Scott Hanson and Pat McClain would like to help you by answering your call. To join Allworth's Money Matters, call now at 833-99-WORTH. That's 833-99-WORTH.
Welcome to Allworth's Money Matters. I'm Scott Hanson.
I'm Pat McClain.
Glad you are with us on the 4th of July weekend, right?
Yeah. It's the 4th of July. We're not taping. This is a tape show, so we're not actually here on the 4th of July.
Yeah. We are not.
I actually don't know where I am on the 4th of July, but...
What?
I don't know where I'll be on the 4th of July.
Okay, because it's been recorded because we're not working on 4th of July. So. But we still have a fantastic program for you and relevant topics, relevant information, and new to you. So it's not like we're doing any reruns. You know, it's funny because I was talking to someone, and I think pre-recorded shows will state now, television, it's very common they'll do pre-recorded shows and air the shows,
yes,
always with guests and everything else. But radio, I think, historically has been more live shows. Although so often shows now are run at a different time than what you... Yeah. In any case, it's irrelevant because we're here. In the
It doesn't, but thank you.
Both myself and my co-host here, both financial advisors, and help people with their finances. You've been a listener of this program for a while. You kind of get a gist of what we do. And if you're new to us, welcome. And I think this is an education-based show where we want to help people with their finances and make wise choices with your money.
And people call us and they ask questions. And if you'd like to do the same, it's 833-99-WORTH, 833-999-6784. And we will, that's a toll-free number in case you were born and have a phone plan from the 1970s where they charge you a lot of money.
Which I remember those days.
I remember that calling my grandmother after like 6 or 7 o'clock at night on Sunday night, because that was the lowest time for long distance.
What a nice. We're showing off. Got to call you're calling your grandmother.
Well, it was the whole family.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't me. But thank you.
I remember as a kid, my parents split up, and I kind of bounce back and forth a bit as a kid. But I would go visit my mom, and particularly when I was old enough to drive in high school, I'd go visit her. When I'd come home, she would say, "Call and let it ring once, and then hang up."
Because
so I didn't have to pay the toll, but that way Mom knew that her little boy made it home safely.
And did you?
Yes, but I could recall arguing with her about, "Mom, this is so ridiculous. If I get slaughtered in a car accident, you will eventually hear about it." Yeah. Now, as a parent, I've pretty much said, "Let me know when you get there. Text me when you get there." Like, Dad, just text me when you get there, please, because I don't care if you're 24 or whatever.
You'll know when they are like, "Hey, I put this on Venmo or PayPal or..."
And this is a total side story, but I find that an interesting one, as you may as well. When my daughter was in college, her and her friend were driving from Southern California, her college roommate, we have a little cabin up in Tahoe, and they were driving to the cabin late at night. And my wife would like to track the kids with their phones, so she'd track, which I never liked doing because anyway. And she wakes me up, my wife wakes me up at like 4 a.m. Scott, Jessica, she never made it to the cabin. She was supposed to text me, she never did. And I'm looking here in the phone, and she never made it to the cabin. So I wake up, I look at the phone. Sure enough, it looks like she's on the side of the highway somewhere, right?
Oh.
It's not what your dad wanted, as a father.
Yeah. So what do you do?
So I call the Highway Patrol. No report of any accidents around there. I call the local hospital there. No, 19-year-old girl came in. And what it turned out was the find your phone was not that accurate.
Oh.
And my daughter had forgot to text when she arrived at 1 a.m.
And so the find your phone thing
made my life worse.
Showed someplace else.
I don't even know why I talked to the story.
But we were talking about phones. I called
we're going to get to the calls here in a moment.
An 83-year-old aunt that I hadn't talked to in about a year. I called her earlier this week to see how she was doing during the Corona thing. What? Well, I didn't wait
Are
till
you thinking
Sunday
about
night.
your good deeds? Oh, you didn't have to wait till Sunday night.
No, I'm going to talk about all the good things I've done in the last couple of weeks.
For others.
Show.
For others. I keep a list. I call my aunt what a good person I am.
I got a Boy Scout badge. All right, let's take some calls.
All right, 833-99-WORTH is the number to be part of this financial program, which we will get to. I guess it's 4th of July. Maybe gives us a little more leeway to talk about.
Levity.
Yes. Angie, we are talking with Angie. You're welcome to Allworth's Money Matters.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thanks for
Angie.
taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Hi. Yeah, so I just had a question with the coronavirus and stuff. I heard that the rates have gone down for mortgages and was wondering if now's a good time to refinance if you have maybe a higher rate.
Probably so.
And what is your rate?
So my rate's a little over 5. It's like 5.1 something, and we do have an equity line as well. It's like 4.99.
What's the value of the home?
I would say around 150.
And what do you owe on the first, and what do you owe on the equity line?
The first is like 83,000, and the equity line's got about 27,000 on it yet.
And how old are you?
We got, I'm 48.
So you absolutely should refinance.
Yes, you'll save a lot of money.
100%. And you should look at refinancing into a 15-year fixed rate mortgage.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Probably
Because that way it'll be paid
lower.
off when you're 63.
Okay.
And the rates are going to be like 2.25 somewhere in there.
Yeah,
2.5 or something.
Your payment won't go up that much at all.
But does it matter
If it goes
who?
down.
Like I have a Wells Fargo. I mean, does it matter who you go through?
So most loans, regardless of who you go through, are brokered loans, which means that they just push them out into the marketplace to wherever they can get the best price for it. So it doesn't matter. I personally like using brokers over bank brokers. That's just my.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is I would do this first thing next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Immediately.
Just,
Yeah, you'll save a lot. And
Because
I mean, I could run the numbers later, but my guess is that your payments might even be less.
On a 15-year
would
rate.
you combine?
Oh,
would you
yeah.
Oh, yes.
combine the,
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Just combine those two
Yeah.
together.
Do you owe anyone else money?
Yes.
Who else do you owe money
we
to?
do. We do have some credit cards.
How much do you want
I
credit
would do
cards?
not roll those into the home.
Wait, Scott, I disagree.
No, I
maybe.
wouldn't.
Wait.
They already have $27,000 line of credit. They're going to get to retirement with no
Yeah.
money left, and a $110,000 balance on a $150,000.
But how much do you owe on credit cards? Scott and I
we
differ on this opinion. It depends. So Scott worries about you psychologically.
No, I worry about it getting to retirement to spend in the home.
Understand, but it's a cost of money issue.
She can get another. She could probably get if the house appraises for $150,000. She can get a $120,000 loan with an 80% loan to value.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. What do you owe on credit cards?
So we have probably about another 25,000 in credit card debt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how
What's
new
your
is
credit?
that?
What's your credit?
Yeah. What's your credit score look like?
Probably like 800.
Oh,
And what's your approximate income between?
So my husband works. I'm not working right now. But yeah, he's the main provider, and I was working before COVID, just a part-time job, but I've been mostly a homemaker.
And how new is this $25,000 in credit card debt?
It's not new. It's kind of, I've been trying to pay it down, and I have looked at your money map, and but I just think with not enough income, we'll pay it down and it goes back, with needing groceries, gas. We're not we don't buy just whatever.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it's a.
I'm going to go with
issue
Scott
the
here. I'm going to go
income.
with Scott here. Do not put the credit card debt into the home. Just refinance this
No, I
in the
won't.
first and second into a 15-year fixed rate mortgage, and then get on a spending plan, because this
Okay.
credit card debt will derail your retirement.
Okay.
Right? You spend more money than you make. You're like, if it's an American thing to do. It's so American the federal government has decided to do it as well on a daily basis, which is to spend more money than they actually take in. But that's an issue that you need to address. All righty?
Sure. Okay, well,
But
thank
I
you so
talked to
much
someone
for your
this
time.
week, Angie. I think it'd be helpful for you.
Okay, great. Thanks for your
And then
input.
really
I really
from that,
appreciate it.
it's probably finding a program that will help you get out of credit card debt. I mean, Dave Ramsey is obviously nationally syndicated. I don't know what you call him, but a financial counselor of some aspect, right?
Yeah.
And I think
He does a great job for this sort of thing.
yes, I mean that's primarily what they're really about: helping people get out of debt, get their home paid off. It's about getting their financial house under control, and I think you'd probably benefit from that or something very similar to that. Let's continue on calls here. 833-99-WORTH is the number. We are in Colorado talking with Linda. Linda, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Linda.
So I have a question about savings bonds. My sister passed away without a will, and she left some savings bonds that are in her name, and I don't know what to do with them.
Sorry about your sister's passing, by the way. Are the
Thank you.
do you have are they in physical form? Do you have the bonds now?
Yeah, I have the actual bonds.
All right, I would take them to a local bank. So where are you in the estate? Where are you in the process of getting the probate and all that? You're in Colorado. I don't know what the probate's
I'm in
like.
Colorado, and I've just been appointed as her personal representative, and the heirs have been notified, and the letters of administration have been
Okay,
sent out.
so
But
you've got the
yeah.
letters.
Yeah.
All right, so then I would go to the bank with the bonds and a copy of the death certificate and the letters from the court and get them transferred.
Yes, and by the way, the bank is not going to be happy to see you at all.
Because they don't make any money on this, but they're the ones that have to take care of it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, as far as her bank, it's been closed because she had beneficiaries, and so the bank account has been closed, and the beneficiaries have been paid. So
It doesn't matter what.
It doesn't matter what
It
bank.
doesn't-
Go to your bank.
Any
yeah.
bank, whatever bank.
any bank.
They have to.
If you have a friend that works at a bank, now is the time to ask them for a favor.
And I don't know anybody that works at a bank.
Okay. So when you go to the bank and they say they can't, it won't be unusual for them to say, we can't help you. They're required to help you. All right.
Okay.
But it
I mean,
is.
it's not a lot of money. It's $3,600. I mean, it's not like millions, but it's a lot of money to pay.
$3,600 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care where you
It's
grow
not like
up.
$50,000 or anything like that. But yeah, I could use $3,600.
Yes.
Yes. So go to the bank.
And just out of curiosity, what's the probate process been like in Colorado?
It's been pretty smooth. Well, I have an attorney, so I just do what she says to.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do have one more question if you have time. I had called another time and I was asking about investments, and Primerica came up, and I got the impression that was not, I could do better as far as what I was paying them to maintain my accounts. I have a mutual fund and I have a small traditional IRA, and I'm paying them $50 a month to maintain it, and I got the impression that there may be other companies that don't charge as much.
Yes. How much is in the account?
It's less than $10,000. Less than $10,000.
You
What do you
pay
get for $50 a month?
You mean as far what?
What do you get in services?
Are they doing financial planning for you? Are they consulting with you?
Yeah, they do financial. It's just somebody that I know from church, and I was, helping her, sort of helping her out. She was helping me, I was helping her, but yeah, they do financial planning.
So are they doing it for you?
Say again?
Are they doing the financial plan for you?
Yes. Yeah.
So here there are certain levels of qualifications in financial advisory, right? And so The standard in our industry is someone who's a certified financial planner. In order to earn a certified financial planner designation, one, first of all, has to go through college, so they have to have a college degree to begin with. Then there are 6 coursework that they need to complete and a comprehensive 2-day exam that's quite rigorous. They need to learn things such as estate planning, investments, insurance, etc. It's a lot of work to go through to become a certified financial planner. If I were to recommend to somebody who to talk to, it would either be someone who has a certified financial planner like that or a chartered financial consultant, someone who has a lot of experience in financial planning. Having said that, the firm that you'd mentioned, Primerica, I'm not here to point out, let's say it's a good firm or a bad firm, but my understanding is their model is much like a multi-level marketing group where they recruit others to come join and to sell financial products. It's not what I would consider financial planning, and it's not the kind of financial products that it's not the structure that we would recommend. So
if you have $10,000 invested with them, you're paying $600 a year, which is a 6% cost. So if you're not getting the financial advice from them and all you're doing is paying for your investments, you're paying about 600 times more than you should.
Okay, what did you say about $600 a year? I missed that.
You said you're paying $50 a month for the services.
Yeah. Right.
That's $600 a year as a percentage of $10,000, which you said your investments are. That's 6%, which means that if you're just getting the investment advice from them, you're paying way, 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 way too much. If you're getting real financial planning, which includes debt, they're recommending either you buy term life insurance, that you should pay down mortgages, all of those things, then it might be worth it. But if all you're getting is the investment advice and you're paying 6%.
There's no advice. You can get a lot cheaper. And I imagine the funds that you have are quite expensive.
Quite expensive as well. So,
well, I'm earning dividends. I guess that's what you call it.
Yeah,
interest, dividends, whatever.
You're not earning
on
6%.
Balances.
You're not earning 6%.
In dividends.
In dividends. You're not earning 6%. You're earning maybe 2%.
I would go back to what I just talked about with the qualifications of someone being a financial advisor. And if this person has those credentials and does a good job for you, then it's probably worth the $600 a year. But otherwise, I guess it's not. Anyway, appreciate the call, Linda. We wish you well. Let's continue on with calls. We're going to talk to Tom in Chicago. Tom, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Yes, sir. I have a question about when to take my benefit from the government-run Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. I can take it. The first opportunity I have to take it would be early next year.
Tom, do you work for a company that went bankrupt?
I did. It was an insurance company, and they went out of business.
And that doesn't sound good, by the way, when it's an insurance company going out of business.
And you said the earliest you could get out of two is when?
It would be on my 55th birthday, which is March of next year.
Okay.
So I have to apply within the next couple of months if I want to take it.
Okay.
And if I delay that, I could delay it up to 7 years in the future. And of course, every period of time that I delay it, I get more money.
Yes.
And I would get, if I take it next March, I get about $600 a month. If I delay it till the maximum, I'd get about $900 a month. So it's not much of a difference. About $300 a month, which is not going to make a big difference, I don't think, during my retirement.
It's 50%.
Yeah, it's significant as a percentage. How much money do you make?
$100,000 a year.
And are you married?
I am not.
And you're not planning on retiring next year, is that right?
No, I'm not.
And how much money do you have in 401ks or IRAs?
In February of this year, I had about $850,000 in assets.
I would not take this until they made me.
That's right.
Unless you had a terminal illness or something.
Yeah, unless you had something that would significantly shorten your life expectancy, you're better off to defer.
Well, here's the rub. And I read the report, and the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation says their entire corporation is in, and I quote, a difficult financial position today. Mm-hmm. The single employer program continues to see improvement. However, it still faces considerable risk. So I'm worried that if I wait, they're going to cut me, just like they might cut Social Security. multi-employer plans and are in dreadful
Real trouble.
Yep.
Yeah, they're real trouble.
Yep.
Yeah, they're out of money in this. Yeah. I think the report said 2025.
They've been
So
talking about bailing those out for the last number of
And
years.
those came from a lot of the
Unions.
airline and bankruptcies. Okay, so what you have at risk here is $300 a month between now and age 62.
Yes.
Because your
the
benefit
risk
amount,
is that
is so small that even the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, there's a maximum amount that they'll guarantee towards. So for a 65-year-old, I forget the exact number, it's 50 some odd thousand or $60,000 a year, and then every year you are younger than that, it reduces even further. So like you mentioned airlines, if you're an airline pilot and went through the bankruptcy, let's say someone had just retired and they were receiving a pension of $150,000 a year, suddenly that $150,000
was $35,000
or 50, 60 grand or whatever the next year.
So your situation here, are you worried about it?
Well, I want to maximize the amount of money I get. I'd like to take it right away,
Take
assuming that the government makes cuts.
Well, to your point, it's not going to make one difference.
Take it. If you're worried about it, take it. Right. So what look, from an economic dollar cent standpoint, based on your income, you should defer it. But Scott, on his point, which is, look, if the PBGC goes bankrupt, which by the way was set up to help plans that went bankrupt, but it very well could go bankrupt itself. It's the equivalent of the FDIC for pension plans.
Sort of.
Kind of, because the premiums that go to pay it are after from existing defined benefit pension plans. The problem with existing defined benefit pension plans is as those get shrunk, which they have,
less plans out there,
and public plans don't participate in the PBGC, so that's the last of the defined benefit pension plans. It gets harder and harder to subsidize this program until the U.S. government just takes it over directly.
Because other companies saying we can't afford we see it now. I can't afford the
premium.
The premiums, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation's too high. We're out of here.
So the last companies will actually go into bankruptcy to discharge some of their pension obligations. It's not unusual. So the question is, if it goes into bankruptcy, what will they look at in order to determine who's going to receive the final bit of dollars out of there? Maybe it's their income and it doesn't have anything to do with the pension that they're paying, Scott. We have no idea, right? Do you think that they'd go and poll, Scott? That they would go and poll all these people?
Here's the assumption. The Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation becomes totally insolvent. They don't have enough money to make all their payments any longer.
And they say,
right? That's what Tom's worried about.
We're going to stop paying. The question is, do they stop paying everyone or do they stop paying? So Tom's worry, I'm with Tom. Tom's worry is I should get it while I can because this thing might blow up. And oh, by the way, if it hurts me in the long term, a few $100s because I took it early, right? I hear where you're coming from. Based on your income. I'm kind
of thinking if we're at the point when the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation reduces a $900 pension from a retiree.
But it may not be based on that $900. It could be based on overall net worth or his other income coming in at the time that they decide when they do it. Because Social Security never looks at what you paid into it. Right? So I could, if you want, I could spend the rest of this show arguing for both sides of it. But I will say at the end of it, Tom, if it makes you more comfortable to take it at 55, take it at 55.
We're talking about $300 a month. It's not going to make or break your retirement regardless.
Correct.
That's what I think you said when you first called.
And if you believe it's going to be insolvent, then take it at 55.
I shall do it.
Okay, good.
All right.
Good.
Appreciate the call.
This is good because I think, it's funny. Appreciate the call, Tom. And sometimes listeners will tell us we're formulating our own opinions as we're kind of debating through this, right?
Right.
Because we don't know the answer.
Well, the only way you'd know the right answer is if you could tell me how the government was going to react.
Clairvoyant.
The chances of them becoming insolvent or not needing a bailout from the U.S. government is very, very. Something's going to happen with this.
Yes, particularly now.
I
mean, not right now, but it was bad before March of 2020.
But the economics told us, which were based on tax law, because if his income was zero, not $100,000, we'd tell him to take it today. but his income's $100,000. So our fear is he's going to pay out at a higher margin
But if
rate.
he had no retirement savings whatsoever, it'd say wait as long as possible.
That's right. That's right too.
And we've got just about a minute before break here, so I want to talk a little bit about these variable annuities, and we're seeing a tremendous increase in the usage of variable annuities.
The sales of, yes. I don't quite get it.
You don't get what?
I don't get why people are buying it. Well, they're being
sold.
sold. That's why. That's why. They're being sold.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about that and what other options you've got in making sure that your portfolio is structured well, because in times when there's uncertainty, people can make bad choices, and we don't want to see that happen with you. So anyway, we're going to take a quick break on this 4th of July. When we come back, we'll continue on with calls and talk a little bit about the variable annuities. Our contact number to join the program, 833-99-WORTH. You're listening to Allworth's Money Matters.
This week's show was pre-recorded at an earlier date. Can't get enough of Allworth's Money Matters? Visit allworthfinancial.com/radio to listen to the Money Matters podcast.
Welcome back to Allworth's Money Matters. I'm Scott Hansen.
I'm Pat McClain.
Happy July 4th. And no fireworks this 4th of July.
Nope. At least in our portion of the country.
Maybe somewhere, Scott.
I imagine.
Somewhere in the South probably does.
How every geography responds to this COVID-19 is interesting.
And why did it? It was first called the novel coronavirus. Novel meaning new, which I found fascinating. That everyone writing about it threw the word novel. So a reporter had been working for 2.5 years for some publication who's never actually used the word novel. Suddenly was writing novel coronavirus. Like, it's just also it means it's new. Like, someone just chose to have the word, so everyone decided to pick it up. It's funny how vocabulary goes like this.
I don't know.
But then we don't. Now it's COVID-19.
Yes, not the coronavirus. In fact, I was reading an article this morning. COVID-19.
It's COVID-19.
Yeah.
I understand technically the difference between the virus and the
yes,
but come on. Anyway, it's irrelevant to what we're talking about.
Okay, well,
why'd I bring that?
It is a financial talk show, so let's try to stay on topic.
Let's take some calls here. Let's
and
talk.
If you'd like to join the show, I'm sorry, Scott, 833-99-WORTH. That's 833-999-6784.
We're in Denver talking with Matthew. Matthew, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
I had a question for you. My financial advisor has been encouraging me to get into investments that are more trying to save me taxes at the retirement stage and paying all those taxes up front, kind of the opposite of what a 401k would be, more like a Roth.
So is he recommending the Roth?
He's recommending the Roth.
Okay.
But he's also recommending, because we've maxed out. I own my own business, so we have been doing SEPs and doing calls it the backdoor Roth.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, good. Okay.
And another item he had brought up is he calls it a variable life insurance.
Okay.
And to me, it sounded like whole life, but he said it's different. And he said that can be something that will save you quite a bit of money when it comes to using that in your retirement years. I don't know if you've heard of that or about that.
Yes.
How many employees do you have?
It's just myself and my wife.
Okay. And are you both on payroll?
No.
How about doing a solo K?
And which is the max. It has higher limits than the SEP.
Oh,
you could put like $55,000 a year into a solo K.
Okay.
Right. So what's your approximate income?
It's usually between $350 and $400, depending on the year.
And how much money do you have outside of retirement?
A nice little
plans?
business, by the way, Matthew.
How much money do you have outside retirement plans, like in brokerage accounts, stocks, bonds, something like that?
Oh, probably like $75,000.
Okay. You're not.
And do you have kids?
Yes.
Are you funding them their retirement, their college education through a 529 plan?
I actually am retired military, so I passed over my GI Bill to those guys.
Oh, all right.
Very nice. Are you using an HSA?
No. Well, I have my health insurance through my military retirement. So.
Oh, even better. Good for you.
So,
can I ask a question? I was trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How much life insurance do you currently have?
About $1.2 million.
In term insurance.
And what do you owe on your house?
Yes, in term. I paid off my house.
Good for you.
How old are you?
49.
How old are your kids?
I have a 8-year-old and a 12-year-old.
And are you having any military pension at this point?
My military pension will kick in at 60.
And what if you predecease? Is there still a pension there at 60?
Yes, I'm passing that on to my wife.
And how much is that going to be?
50%. So it'd be right around. I'll get, if it's my retirement at 60, and when I pass away, she'll get half.
And what's the dollar amount?
60,000.
And she'll get half of that?
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
I want to see how you answer this, Scott.
What do you mean?
I'm curious.
Well, I think you need more life insurance.
Okay, and what do you think he should?
Okay.
How do you think he should?
Cheap term insurance, and you need it. Well, you're probably. I mean, you need some until you go into retirement. But if you died today, the 1.2 million is your family's going to have a tough time maintaining their lifestyle, even with your home being paid.
Yeah, it's not nearly enough. You probably need $2.5 million.
Yeah, and it's cheap.
You probably need.
The concept of buying a variable life insurance, every once in a while, that makes sense. The challenge, you pay way more for insurance than you do for term insurance, way more.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have additional fees inside of them. The fees are much more than the tax savings.
And when they talked about how you can borrow out of it, you probably heard the whole spiel. You can borrow out of it, and you can withdraw your money first, then you borrow out of it. And as long as the life insurance policy is in force at the date of death, then it's all tax-free. Did you get that spiel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can't you do that? What if you bought a total stock market index fund?
And did the same thing with a lot less cost. And by the way, I've never, ever, ever seen one of these work.
Oh, okay.
Over 50% of them are lapsed within 3 years. They get
No
sold.
one really rides it out.
That's right.
That's right.
So, and by the way, you don't have enough liquid cash anyway. So if you were sitting down in an office with one of our advisors.
Your advisor is a commission-based advisor, or he wouldn't be recommended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
We would say increase your life insurance, term insurance, go to selectquote.com or one of those other online and increase it to 2.5 at a minimum.
Okay.
$2.5 million at a minimum.
Even if it's a 10-year level.
Convert from that SEP to a solo K to increase those contributions. Get a little bit of life insurance on your wife, right? Maybe $500,000, and then buy the S&P 500.
He doesn't need life insurance as his wife. I think Social Security benefits receive the social.
You think he need a little?
Whatever.
It's not material, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Okay.
He's got plenty of income to pay for it. She
It's
does
cheap.
work.
It is cheap.
She does work at the company.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take that back.
Does she not? You said she works at the company, correct?
She does, yes.
Okay.
And where does your financial advisor work? Who's his employer?
He works for a company called Tax Savings Pros.
Okay. Well, then I was
Florida.
expecting an insurance company. We're just not big fans of variable. It sounds like you were doing all the right things, but I would have. You need some more life insurance, and those products. I just don't like them.
Yeah, and
I'll be full disclosure. I own one. There was a product that came out years ago that was designed just for people in the industry, and they stripped out all of the fees. And the way I paid for it, I put a single lump sum into it, and I have it such that I'm not even buying much insurance in it anymore because the securities have grown so much over the years. But it's one of those things that I'm never going to be able to spend those dollars
Well,
the way it's designed.
You wouldn't buy it if it was a fully commissioned
No
product.
way. No way. They offered those to try to get you hooked on it, and I still didn't buy them.
So what you need to do is Solo K, term life insurance on both you and yourself, increase yours to $2.5 million minimum, $500,000 on your wife, and then start putting money after tax into, you do the backdoor Roth, you're doing all the right things there. After tax into a brokerage account and buy the total market.
Okay.
And you're doing great. By the way, you're
obviously you're doing well.
You're doing great.
How many years you been out of the military?
Actually, I just retired.
And you're running your own company that you're netting
I know.
$350 to $400. Holy smokes!
He's probably thinking I should have retired before. Thank you for your service, by the way. And I love hearing stories like
thanks,
this.
No problem.
Great job.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Great job.
No, I'm really.
Yeah. And by the way, be a little bit suspect of your advisor. By the way.
Okay.
Well, anyone who sells products,
so
the challenge I have with commission-based advisors is not that they're not good people or ethical people or educated people. It's that they have a conflict. If he's going to earn a fat commission, which they do, by selling you a financial product, there's that conflict. He knows if he recommends you switch to a Solo K rather than your SEP, he's not really going to make any commission because it's piddle. The commission he would make on selling you, how big a policy was he looking at to sell you?
We haven't got down to the details.
All right.
Okay.
Well, good.
But he might be making $5-10 a commission on selling you, or more, on selling you a product.
So,
okay.
I wouldn't buy one.
So, perfect. Okay. Good to know.
All right.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Thanks, Matthew.
Yeah. Good luck, Matthew, and with those little kids and all that stuff.
But he does need life insurance. Most people need more life insurance.
I've never seen someone who's had too much. And Pat, and I know you have as well, been in this industry long enough where you're sitting across, it's typically a widow. I'm just right in my mind right now. Widow with kids trying to figure out how do we make these dollars last.
Yes. How do we put the kids in school? Do you have to move? I've had that conversation.
I have to.
You're going to have to downsize?
I've told someone you're going to have to downsize. This is the family home we've been in. I'm like,
yeah.
You can live here for a couple of years, but long term you can't. It's not going to work.
Yes.
Or you got to go ahead and get a career somehow.
Did it with she was a widow with 4 children under the age of 15. I did actually the applications for financial aid for the whole family to get into college. Had to tell the daughter she couldn't go to the college that her dad told her she could go to because they couldn't afford it.
Term life insurance is pretty cheap.
It's inexpensive.
And for whatever reason, people buy less life insurance today than they used to. Like half the amount that they had 30 years ago. I don't quite understand it.
Probably there's less salespeople out there. Life insurance, Scott, is not the coveted sales position it once was.
Like, who's the guy from Groundhog Day, the insurance sales guy?
Ned the Head.
Ned the Head. All right, whatever. Let's continue on with calls here.
Everyone knows Ned the Head. Ned the Head was his nickname in high school. He ran into Bill Murray, and he was trying to sell him life insurance.
Yes. All right, let's talk with Steve. Steve, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Oh, thank you, fellas. Hey, have a question today. I retired 3 years ago, and at that time, my advisor and I set up a balanced portfolio. We were about 60% equities, 40% fixed income, and we set up a bond ladder. And so as those expire, we would try and push out the extent of the ladder.
Yeah.
But the last year and a half, we've not been able to find any good options on bonds.
And when you say bonds, where it was a corporate, munis? Corporate. Okay.
Yeah, corporate. Yeah, and those are all in the tax-free account.
Okay.
But so
your retirement account, your tax-deferred account, is that you're referring to?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And so we've been had some in cash, and that's built up pretty big. I mean, probably more than it should. and been replacing that with equity. So we're getting kind of heavy on the equity side. And I figure, well, that may be the path we're going to go with the way interest rates are. But the question boils down to your recommendation. Should we be leaning more towards index funds or more towards individual stocks? And if individual stocks, how many would be a good number to have in an account? You know, I'm not a full-time financial advisor or anything.
Let me answer that last question first. If you're going to own individual stocks, studies have shown, statistical studies, you need between 16 and 20 individual stocks to get full diversification. In other words, to mitigate individual company risk, you need 16 to 20 stocks in a portfolio at a minimum, because you're at a retirement stage, right?
Yes.
You can't mess this up.
Right.
Your job is not to get rich. Your job is to not be poor.
Exactly.
Right? So some people get confused and they think that now that they have money to invest that they're supposed to get rich. That's not your job. So what scared me is what you just said, that you started with a 60-40 portfolio, but now you said you're taking the proceeds with these bonds mature and buying more equities. What's the portfolio today on an equity versus fixed income percentages?
Oh, gosh. I think we're down to, it's certainly 70%. Part of that skewed a little bit because we did put some preferreds in there. And so if you just pull up the equity balance, those preferreds are shown as equity.
So there's been a couple of statements that have confused. When you stated that we've looked at some bonds, we put some preferred. So did you hire an advisor who's doing this work for you, or
no? I have all my accounts with Schwab, and so we have a fixed income specialist.
Okay.
So you are the portfolio manager.
You're deciding where this money goes.
I was getting confused because I'm like,
and all they're doing is rubber stamping your recommendations.
Yeah.
Well, no, they provide the options, the suggestions, and then it's my call.
Yeah. You say I want this is the product I'm looking for, and they say that we have these products that meet your needs. So here's how we do so here's why I would not do a portfolio like this personally. First of all, on bond ladders, I'm not a fan of corporate bond ladders unless somebody's got $20 million or more in bonds, because you can't get enough diversification. And I recall in the financial crisis, I had a client, let's call him Steve, had a bond ladder. One of those bonds was Ford Motor Company. Was it Ford? That was Ford or G? Yeah, Ford. Got wiped out on it. So he wanted the bond ladder to avoid the cost of a mutual fund because he thought he didn't like that concept, and because he didn't like the concept that the mutual funds never matured. So he kind of talked me into this. And I remember we had a bond ladder, and it was, 15% of his bond portfolio that evaporated overnight because it was Ford that went bankrupt.
And for what?
It was triple. And for what?
And for what?
For what? Bonds are supposed to be the secure piece of your portfolio. They're not there to try to get rich. And here you have a significant loss because of some unforeseen event. We're actually in another unforeseen event, right? When companies are, we
could go through the list. WorldCom, right? Pacific Gas and Electric. I mean, we could go on, but we only have 10 minutes or so left in this radio show. I think you're making it much more complicated than it actually needs to be.
And you're either doing it for one or two reasons. Maybe one, you might enjoy this stuff, and so you enjoyed being an active participant, which might be fine. Or you don't think advisors are worth their money, which may be, or there's no one that you know and trust, or a combination,
right?
I'd probably disagree a little bit on that.
Okay. So,
and the only reason I mentioned that is having worked with bond ladders when I was managing some government agencies, that was a key part of our strategic plan. And so I always felt that as long as they were diverse, of good quality, and had them.
Then how many bonds in your portfolio do you have?
Well, I think we've got about 250,000, so there would be 10 different bonds.
All right. So, quite frankly, that's
so now. So
One goes south.
And it's a 10% loss.
And it's
in
a
bond
10%
portfolio.
for what? So the answer to your question is, I think you need to get back to that 60-40, and rather than actually use bonds in the portfolio, I would look at bank CDs at this time. And I wouldn't necessarily look at using the ones that are offered through Schwab. I would actually look at going directly to the banks and putting them in the IRAs in the bank. So if you go to bankrate.com, and I assume that you're not going really long on the bond ladders. You're not going out at long maturities. You're going to get higher yields off a bank CD than you are on a short maturity, even corporate at this point in time. You're going to have the FDIC insurance. It's going to get you everything you need. The stuff they're going to offer you through your brokerage firm at Schwab is probably not the highest yield you're going to get if you go to bankrate.com. So we have clients that are in similar circumstances, and we tell them exactly that. Look, for this little bit of the portfolio, it may make sense to actually put it in a bank CD. Not your local bank, but it's probably some online bank, Synchrony, something along those lines. That's where I would go with it. And I disagree. I couldn't disagree with you more about the diversification in your bond ladder. I could not disagree more. And you're not going to know it. Hopefully ever. You may die and be right. And I hope that's the case. But having managed billions of dollars, I'd rather pay a little bit more and get broad diversification on the portion of my portfolio that is the bedrock that the rest of the portfolio is built on.
So if we're looking at these CDs and using the Bankrate site, how far out would you be looking to go?
I wouldn't go more than 12 months.
Oh, just 1 year at a time.
Well, you don't, but you're answering a hypothetical question, Pat, because the reality is we don't do bond ladders, and we don't put CDs in retirement accounts.
Well, that's right. Okay, but
so we for most of our equities are in index funds. And then for our fixed income, we also use indexes. And then where we try to get some higher returns, we use some active managers. And roughly half of active managers have been able to outperform the index, much better track record than actively managed mutual funds. And that's what happened.
Oh, you're right, Scott. I am answering a hypothetical question.
You are dealing with somebody who says, I have my own way of doing things. Given the way that I want to do my things, how should I do it? And you're answering that question.
That's correct.
So,
okay,
it's hypothetical.
It's not necessarily what I listen.
It may work fine for you.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily what I would do with a client. If you were sitting in my office, I'd fight with you. I'm like, you're doing it wrong.
You would fight with you. Yes, of course.
But if
you would try to convince him that there's a better way.
That's right. But if I lost that argument, I would give him the next best option.
That's correct, which is what this is.
Is. Because
But then
he already told us he disagrees with our bond ladder, Scott. So, all right. What was your question?
But getting back to the equity things, and so you would recommend index funds over the 20 individual stocks?
Every day.
Okay.
Every day.
That was the key part, because as they're building up, it's like, these are going to be too many for, if I'm getting up to 12 even or 15 stocks, it's like, oh man, I don't, know how to manage all these things. Yeah.
So you've seen the study, Steve, right? That shows that the actively managed mutual funds, the vast majority of them underperform the indexes.
Right.
So what you are saying is like, I understand that most professionals can't outperform the indexes, but I can.
That's what you just said.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You said it. You didn't say it in those words,
yes,
but you said it through your actions.
Yes.
Right. No, that's what I was looking at, because as I've looked at this money coming in, I have the bulk of my equities are in index funds, the SPDR and the International Value Fund and all that stuff, or Vanguard. But I've had these, should I add these stocks over there? And that really was my question, as this money is coming from maturing bonds.
Yes. Listen,
unless roll it into the bank rate short term, or if I have room, not getting too heavily onto equities, then just keep loading up on the index funds.
Well, correct. But you left the thesis that you started with 3 years ago. It's 60-40 was your thesis, and you no longer stick to that.
Yes.
You do not have a strategy.
Yes. So when you ask our strategy, our clients, here's what actually happened on the retirement accounts in February of this year when because last year was a large run up in the market, we did a rebalance. So we sold. It was actually a day beyond the peak. Not that we predicted the peak, just because with the discipline, we stuck with our plan. Rebalanced. The market fell down 30 some odd % in the coronavirus. We rebalanced again because now we were underweight stocks. So we
bought equities.
And then we just recently did another rebalance because the market's been so volatile. That's sticking to the plan. So your plan was 60% stocks. You've increased your risk considerably since that time because you don't like the other alternatives, which is, it's funny. We talk about why the stock market is where it's at. It's because
it's lack of alternatives. And what you just did was played right into that thesis that there's a lack of alternatives.
Are you a retired engineer?
No.
No, you're not. Okay. It's not, I don't mean anything negative about engineers. Sometimes they're,
You're making it much more difficult.
You really are, Steve.
And probably more risk than you actually are aware of in the portfolio.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate your info. And so, again, to get back to 60-40, because like I said, right now
you sell your stocks.
You sell the stocks. It's in an IRA.
And then buy the CDs or buy a bond index fund?
Well, maybe we
would use
both.
Our clients would have a handful of different index funds. Handful of different fixed income funds in their portfolio.
But you kind of scared me a little bit when you said
that are designed to work with one another with a lot of.
But you just scared me a little bit when you mentioned international value. Is that mid, large, small cap?
Oh no, that's a Schwab. That's the Vanguard Total Fund ex-US. So
okay,
got it. It's not called a
US.
Okay,
international.
All right, because you
that's
said
that international component.
Anyway,
all
right. Well, good luck.
I'll be real honest with you, Steve. I've been doing this a long time. Great. I don't think you're doing yourself any favors. I honestly believe that, and I think a good financial advisor would help you. I think you'd yield a higher return over the long term. I think you'd be taking less risk, and I think you would, unless you really love what you're doing. I think you could benefit from that.
I wouldn't have him manage my portfolio.
No. And you might not take him on as a client because he might argue with you too much on things.
Maybe.
Sometimes people are their own worst enemies sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we're out of time. Great being here with you. Enjoy the 4th of July celebrations, if there are some celebrations near you. And we'll love having you back on next week. In the meantime, go to allworthfinancial.com. Great tools there. See you next week. This has been Scott Hansen and Pat McClain, Allworth Financial.
This program has been brought to you by Allworth Financial, a registered investment advisory firm. Any ideas presented during this program are not intended to provide specific financial advice. You should consult your own financial advisor, tax consultant, or estate planning attorney to conduct your own due diligence.